We are getting into chapter 6 tonight. There's a lot to talk about in chapter 6. Chapter 6 is called Staying in Balance. I was searching for some dry eraser markers, and I was going to set up the board tonight because one of the big parts of the chapter, so I thought, was the diagram where we talk about energy fluctuation, energy highs and energy lows, and a 0 point. Has everyone looked at that? Has everyone seen that diagram in the chapter and has an idea what it looks like? Okay, so everybody else who might not be with us tonight and might be watching this for the first time, let me just give you a reference. Thank you, Beth. Page 60 is the figure in the book that's going to be describing energy fluctuation, and I don't think there's any other figures in the book, but it's figure 1, the one and only. So the way I want to, and I feel guided to start this discussion is, let's just start with a discussion about energy. And balance is all about energy. We've had a lot of discussions about emotions, and we've did a lot of work around emotions. And we're going to be talking about emotions in terms of balance tonight, but I want to start from a place of energy. And then I want to show you how emotional reactions can make staying in balance energetically more challenging and, in a way, make it more unsustainable. High levels of emotional reactions make staying in balance unsustainable. And I want to start with a foundational talk about energy and sustainability before we do that. So the first thing we want to talk about is sustainability, energy being sustainable. Is the state that you're existing in sustainable? Which means can you exist in your current state of existence for a prolonged period of time without any symptoms of disease? You want to give yourself the best opportunity possible to be in balance. You want to give yourself the best opportunity to be healthy and well and peaceful. Is the current state of existence you're in giving you the opportunity to do that? Well, first of all, you have to ask yourself, am I healthy and well? Okay, am I suffering from any gross emotional or physical disease? Okay, if you are not sustainable. You are not in balance. That's just an acknowledgement. Now, you may reach a place of balance, okay, and it doesn't mean that you will not experience sickness, but at least in that place of balance, in other words, I could be full of cancer right now and die 2 months from now, okay? But existing in my life in a balanced way, I would know that I was doing all that I could to not have to go through that lesson that might have to teach me. It doesn't mean I'm immune from those situations happening, you understand? Because I don't know the mind of God, and I don't know whether I might have to go through something like that to bring me to a place of enlightenment that would benefit the greater good in a way that I have no idea why. It's not about that. It's about quality of life, and it's about knowing that you're doing the best you can to be in that space of balance, knowing that it's eliminating, as much as possible, dis-ease from your body, mind, and spirit. So if you are living in a state of obvious dis-ease, okay, you are out of balance. You're out of balance. So let's talk about how we get there. The way I like to describe being out of balance is we have this x-axis and this y-axis, and right along that axis we have a general, like a sine wave fluctuation. Where I use it in the book. If you're like 99% in the practice, you're booming in and out of that zero outline. You're peaceful. You're accepting. You're loving. You're speaking your truth. You're taking it as it comes. You're generally speaking pretty relaxed and open to the magic, as Michael said. And you're seeing the magic all around you. We're going to call above that line excess energy imbalance. These are all just relative terms to help us describe a process. You can't describe a process like life in a graph. I'm just doing it for educational purposes. You go below the line, you're in a decreased energy imbalance, which means up here you have too much energy, down here you don't have enough. Either one are unsustainable. Most people who come to see me with a chronic dis-ease state are in a decreased energy imbalance, okay? They'll come in and say, I have hypothyroidism. Okay, I can't lose weight. In chronic inflammation, whatever. And I'll ask them, how is your energy level? I'm tired. I'm tired. So how many people in the general audience here tend to be tired more than they would like to be? Tend to be tired more than they'd like to be. Okay? Yeah, that's an honest representation. How many people in this audience have more energy than they'd like to have? Their problem is they have just way too much energy. They don't know what to do with it. Yeah, that's very true. Okay? But most people don't see having too much energy as a problem. They don't see that as an issue because their high level of energy, they equate with a high level of success. They can be very productive. They can get a lot done. So they're basing whether they're sustainable or not on, are they getting everything done they need to get done? Is it all getting done? Do I have enough energy to get done what I need to get done? If I don't have enough energy to get what I need to get done, I don't have enough energy. If I have more than enough energy to get done what I need to get done, I have enough energy. What's the core thing they're not thinking about? There's no balance. What are you trying to get done? What are you making important? What are you putting, what is the need for the energy? And I can guarantee you, and we're not going to go into it, I want to talk a little bit about it before I get into this part of it, but what you need to get done in a day, okay, you have to look at your emotional attachment to what you feel about when you get that done. I'm good when I get all my work done. I'm a fulfilling, functional part of society when I get all my work done. When I don't get all my work done, I haven't done all that I'm supposed to do. So there's judgment and opinion in that process of self-evaluation for what you're doing. That is not sustainable. It's not sustainable. Because throughout your life, there will always be days when there's more than you can possibly do, and there'll always be days when you get it all done, when you have extra energy, when you don't have. There'll always be that temptation to get into that space. It's not a sustainable space to live. We are not what we do. We are the I am. We are what we are. What we are is what's important. What we come from is what's important. What we do is what we do with what we are. But without what we are, we do nothing. We are nothing. Without that, we are nothing. So if you're spending your life completely consumed with the tasks that must be done in a space where you are focused on that, you are missing the magic of what you are. And you're missing the magic of what you are happening all around you because you're too focused on what you're doing. Who you are makes what you're doing what it is. I stand over people and place my hands on them and things come through me. Truth, heat, energy, whatever, names are irrelevant, and people get guidance, get better, are catalyzed into a healing space. I don't claim to understand it, nor do I ever claim to take credit for it, but I witness it every day. That is not happening because of what I do. Because when anyone really asks me what I do, what do I tell them? I don't know. I don't know. So it isn't what I'm doing that's making people get better. It's what I am, okay? What am I? I'm that. When I'm that, what I do is amazing. And I know because I believed I was me doing something in my life, and it was good, it was good, and I had all those normal emotions of pride and gratitude, and it was good. But it's nothing compared to what it is now. And anyone who's known me for all the years that I've gone through my own evolution, I think would completely agree with that. That what I did when I did it is nothing compared to what comes through me now that I am. No one does it better than God. So That said, you're not what you do. So, excess energy. So what causes us to go into excess energy? All right, so now we're going to start to look at the emotions and feelings that bring us into excess energy, because that's what does. Emotions, feelings, and reactions take us into excess energy. What's one of the biggest things that takes us into excess energy? Now, we think excess energy, this is good. Imbalance is not in the highest good. Balance is in the highest good. So anything that takes us here or here, we're not judging it as, oh my God, but it's not in the highest good. So what takes us up? Fear. Fear takes us into an excess imbalance. Anxiety, okay? What are fear and anxiety based on? Expectations take us into excess energy imbalance. They can get us pretty charged up. And don't think them getting you pretty charged up in a good way is always a good thing. I'm really excited about what's going to happen tomorrow. Okay, well, let's say it all happens just the way you think it's going to happen, and you were really excited about something happening just the way you knew it was going to happen. Was being really excited about it happening the best way to experience it? No. Remember, we're talking about energy here. Excess energy imbalance means you are expending excess energy to have that experience. Did you need to be in an excessive energy state to have that fulfilling experience? Is that excessive energy what made it great? Well, if you're addicted to excess energy states making you feel alive and great, well, then it is, but it's not sustainable. That's why the fundamental principles of the practice of living are just, I know they're monotonous, and I'm going to keep bringing them up again. To be in a space of love, acceptance, peace, compassion, speak your truth. Know that you're always doing the best you can do. Let it go. Because once you get into the excess energy imbalance, okay, where do you end up when it runs out? In the bottom. And this is anyone who's had any, well, you know what, I shouldn't say anyone who's had any, because it's everybody. Everybody who's had an addictive experience, which is everybody, whether you know it or not, that's what it is. You have something that takes you to a place where you are not in a space of pain or discomfort, okay? Or you're in a space of complete overstimulation. You start to believe that this is where I want to be. And then you come off of it. And you go down because it wasn't sustainable. What comes up goes down. Has to rebalance. So after it comes off the high, it rebalances into the low, and then it starts to make its way back up into a balance point. But all the way down and all the way below that balance point, you are not happy. Because nothing's going to compare to how it felt. This goes back to what we talked about in earlier chapters about the nature of emotional reaction and how it leads to addiction. It's an unsustainable feeling, whether it's negative or positive. I had a patient come in to see me. She came in to see me, she had fatigue, she had allergies, she had, all kinds of grief issues, and what she had is beside the point, because she doesn't have it anymore. She came in to see me, I says, how are you feeling? She says, I'm feeling fine, but I'm a little concerned. Genuinely. I said, why are you concerned? She said, well, I can't thank you enough. My allergies are gone, I'm sleeping through the night, I don't have any more hot flashes. My mother's situation doesn't bother me anymore. I'm fine at work. She goes, but I'm kind of, I guess my complaint is I kind of feel like, why am I here? Like, what's the point of it with me being like this? And she was genuine. I says, you'll get used to it. You get used to it. It's peace. You'll get used to it. We all, until you reach that point where you're staying in that middle ground for the most part, we're all fighting our allergy to peace. We don't like how it feels. It's boring, it's uneventful, there's not much to do. And it isn't because everything's great. It's because we're accepting that for being that. We take the highs and lows out of it. Unconditional love and acceptance takes the highs and lows out. Well, it's going to be what it's going to be. When you genuinely say those types of things, do you ever notice how many people you completely aggravate? They don't believe you. They don't believe you. Well, yeah, it's easy for you to say. Well, actually, it wasn't easy for me to say. I've just practiced it, and now I actually mean it. I said it as a coping mechanism before, but now it's actually true. Well, things like, it'll all work out. Things that require patience and commitment. People don't like those statements that aren't in the practice, whatever you want to call the practice. It's just the name I call the things that we talk about. Whatever you call it might be different. I don't care. It's just a name. So you have to realize that. But if you're in a space of imbalance and you're having a physical sickness, okay, and you're still having a lot of emotional reactions, you know, you're living beyond your means. And that's what I want to get into. You know, emotional reactions are energy intensive. They take energy. And emotional reactions demand attention and energy when? Now. Remember, you're an energy system, okay? You're an energy system. You're taking in food, you're taking in energy from the sun, you're taking in energy from life, and you're using that energy to perform functions in your body, mind, on a concrete level, okay? You only have so much energy. I wrote in the book, and I'll affirm it now, I believe one of the lessons we're learning from our energy policies we have in the world right now, the reason we don't have a sustainable energy policy is because we don't live sustainably as energy beings ourselves. We're completely unsustainable. We're all over the place. We justify spending huge amounts of energy over situations that really don't demand it. We could walk to the store, we take our car. We could let something go, we get aggravated. So we have to change as energetic beings if we ever really want to bring a change to the energy policy of the world. It has to start on a very basic level. How are you living? And it isn't all about recycling and things like that. That's great, but how are you living in life? What do you require? Emotional guidance systems require high amounts of energy. How many of you guys have cell phones? Okay? How many of those cell phones have internet? Okay? How fast does your battery go down when you're on the internet a lot? Fast. That's an analogy to an emotional reaction. When you're just using your phone to make phone calls and maybe use the calculator here or there or whatever, you know, your battery will last a long time. But when you're using all the applications of that phone, it just drains that battery. It's the same thing for you. You're an energetic being. Those emotional reactions, you know, they take a lot of intense reaction, then you have to suck a lot of energy to get your energy back up again. How many people have gone to, again, it's probably going to be everybody, but I won't assume. How many people have gone to a funeral where there's a lot of emotion going on? And maybe you were one of those people that was having a lot of emotion, okay? How many times do you leave that funeral feeling completely energetic? And how many times do you leave that funeral feeling like, whew, you're tired? You're not just tired because you were sad. You're tired because being really sad takes a lot of energy. So I want you to step back from just the emotional piece of it. Well, yeah, but I was really sad. No, being really sad takes a lot of energy. Being really excited takes a lot of energy. So my point again is if you're having some kind of physical issue that you're dealing with, you don't have the energy to be spending on all these luxurious emotional reactions. You need your energy to heal. I'm going to bring this into the financial piece as well, all right? Let's say you have debt and you're paying off debt and you really make a focus to pay off debt because that's what's really causing you the most problem in your life is this debt. And you see this brand new car and you really want to buy it. But you really don't have the money for it. How many people would buy that expensive car if they really didn't have the money for it and they knew how much their debt was bothering them? Let me just see a show of hands. How many people would do that? No shame. Okay. One honest person. No, I'm just kidding. Maybe everyone wouldn't. But the point is that you wouldn't do that. But you don't think of your own body and your own being as an energetic equation that has a limited amount of resources running through it at any one time. If you're having a problem with anxiety and nervousness, okay, which means you're already in an excessive energy state, okay, do you really have the leeway to have expectations and be overexcited about things? No. You're already in an excessive energy state. You need to. And if you're really exhausted and tired all the time, is it really a good idea to be pushing yourself to exercise all the time? No, you're already tired. Now, yeah, gentle walking and things like that are good, but it's not a good idea. Emotions demand immediate energetic input, which means if I'm trying to heal from some disease, okay, and my body needs to send energy to that part of my, let's say, my intestines, and it needs to send energy for healing, for regeneration, for rebalancing, healing. And I'm always flying off the handle being emotional. Am I getting as much energy to that healing space as I would get if I weren't that emotional? Yes or no? No. I just want to awaken you to the power of emotions. You don't say, I'm going to be angry about that 20 minutes from now. Make a note. Be angry in 20 minutes over that guy cutting me off. Perfect. That'll fit into my schedule. 20 minutes later, son of a gun! And you're in the office. No. You have the emotion in the moment. It's why it demands that. But they're incredible energy demanding. And they take you up, and then you drop off. So we kind of get an idea what brings us up. Okay, excitement, expectations, fear, anxiety, anticipation. What good does it do you to anticipate something to the point where you're getting anxious when you have no idea what's really going to happen? I mean, you're gambling with your peace. You're basically taking, and let's look at energy. Let's kind of put energy into like a currency metaphor tonight, okay? Because I think we can all connect with that a little easier. How much would you throw on roulette? Okay, if you had $100, and you really couldn't lose much of it. How much would you bet? Well, it's energy that you're betting on, these anticipations and these emotional things you're looking into in the future. You're placing energetic bets on those things. And even if you win, okay, even if you were right and anticipating something was going to happen, you lost because you spent all kinds of excess energy anticipating something that you could have watched happen without the anticipation. And I get it. Some of these things are human nature. I practice these things myself. This is a re-education of our experience that we're undertaking in the practice. That's why we can't come about it from judgment. We have to come about it with wisdom, with common sense. What makes sense? We have so much energy. We really want to spend as much of that energy healing, making sure our body and our functions are running the way they're supposed to so that we don't experience unnecessary physical disease, okay? Then we want to spend the rest of that calming our mind so that our brains are in a place to observe God's divinity and we can realize why we're really here. Wow, this is really great. I'm glad I noticed that. And then we want to give our spirit a place to worship. So let's go into why do we end up in the down? Well, we know that everything that goes up goes down. But let me just tell you another way that it happens. We don't let go. We want something to go a certain way, okay? And we expect it to go a certain way. We're going up, click, 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 click. It doesn't happen, or it does happen. Let's say we get what we want, but then that moment's over. We're going down the hill, okay? Well, let's take it two ways. First of all, we get what we want. We anticipated it happening. We were really excited. It happened. Unsustainable high. Down we go. Eventually, what we wanted to happen is eventually going to be over. These are events in life. Even if you got what you wanted, it isn't going to last because nothing does. That's the theory of impermanence. It's going to change. So you invested all this energy to be ready for what happened, and it was so great. And now you have to go back to work and go on with your life or whatever. The next day happens. It was Monday, and now it's Tuesday, and it's a whole new experience. And now you're going down, and you can't let go of it. You can't say, "All right, it happened. It was great. It's over." You keep living in it and living in it and living in it because you believe if you live in it, you'll stay up high longer. Okay, now let's say it doesn't happen. You're going up. I really wish it would have happened. It didn't happen, all right? Now you're going down. It didn't happen. And you can't let go of, why didn't it happen? I can't believe it didn't happen. You know, I gave it all. Down again. Either way, you lose. Living with expectations is dysfunctional. You're gambling with your peace. Now, if you're really balanced and well and healthy and you want to throw a few bucks on roulette, you got $1 million sitting there and you want to throw a few bucks on roulette because you can afford to lose it, that's different. But I don't see a lot of people in that place with their energy that they could afford to be gambling away energy that they don't really have. And even if they win, they lose. It'd be like if you bet on red and black, all right? You put the money on black. The wheel spins, it lands on black. The guy says, okay, thank you very much. He takes your money. You go, wait a minute, I won. I got it right. He says, yeah, but you lost. It cost you to bet. So if you bet red and it ends up black, you lose because it cost you, because you got the wrong number, right? Or the wrong color. But if you bet on black, you lose. Why? Because it cost you to bet. So you're losing either way. And I know what a lot of people in the world would say if they heard this. Well, yeah, but this is just the way we are. We're these emotional beings, and this is the way we are, and this is what being human's all about, and blah 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 blah. Yeah, well, whatever. We're already past all that in the practice now. We're not totally bought into being human. We're like, we want to be spirits that are beings and peaceful and accept. So what happens is, again, just a quick tangent. You're going to feel out of place. Remember what I told you last time about sometimes being in your truth means you're opposed to everybody around you simply because you're in a truth that they don't want to see as being true? Remember that? This is going to that next level. When you start talking about living your life in terms of sustainably living your life regarding energy, and you start telling people I'm no longer engaging in excess emotional reactions because they're energetically intensive, and I'm trying to be balanced and heal, and so I'm really trying to cut back on my emotional reactions. What? What? Yeah, I'm just trying to cut back. How you been feeling? Better. Feeling better. Are you going to miss those emotional reactions? Yes. Did that woman miss those emotional reactions? Yeah, she was kind of she was a little kind of like, she wasn't even sad. She was just like, what do I do? She was more just a little lost because it was a new way of living. But she was grateful and she was thankful because she wasn't suffering anymore. The only thing she was suffering from was a little boredom, which you just get used to. Boredom is replaced by the observance of divinity. When you let go of being bored, it's replaced by divinity. I'm never bored because I'm always seeing God doing something. And I see God doing more when I'm doing nothing. So that's what boredom was replaced by in my life. So what I want to talk about now, everyone kind of get that graph, how we end up in both those places and how it affects disease state. I want to just give you a little bit of a tutorial on energy imbalance and how it affects the human body. I think it's fun to tie that into the body, and those of you who see me or are educated on it, that's great. It's a good little refresher course. Those that aren't, I just want to put some names to some things so that you can realize that this is a real process. And then I want to talk about how these excessive emotional reactions affect these physical systems and how it actually ties into the downstream disease process. Would that be interesting to anybody out there at all to know that? Sure. That's great, because I'm going to talk about it anyway. Okay, so we have an excessive emotional reaction. Let's go to that first, okay? Because most things start with a high, all right? Or they start with a shock. Either way, there's a jolt. Biggest thing it goes through is your central nervous system. There's an interpretation of a situation that goes into sending your endocrine system into readiness. What is endocrine system? Endocrine system is all the glands in your body. My list of things will probably be incomplete, but it's thyroid, adrenals, it's your gonadal system, your sex hormone systems, your pancreas, hypothalamus, all kinds of parts of your brain are tied to this. Now, in general, it affects everything in your body, okay? Every cell in your body is affected by everything, but just to kind of give us a groundwork that we're working with, the endocrine system reacts to what your nervous system tells it is going on, and it emits hormones, chemical messengers through your body to ready your body for an experience. This is all survival mechanism. Remember, emotional reactions, okay, mimic the real thing. So if you're having fear about something happening, and okay, that's one snapshot, and you're running for your life, it's the same reaction in your body. Your body doesn't know the difference. If you're having fear over something or you're actually being chased by a lion, they're relatively the same thing. One might be more than another, and in fact, the lion would actually be better because you'd have a physical activity to burn off the change that was going on in your body. These are meant to be survival mechanisms. Does everybody understand that? That the core purpose for fear in our lives on a primitive level is to give us a survival reaction? It's for life-death situations. It isn't, I hope I make it home on time. That was never the purpose for fear. That's why the purpose for these strong emotions is no longer relevant for us on a regular basis, because we're not in survival situations. Anyone who doesn't know it, on the land system, we are the apex predator 99% of the time. The biggest predator man has is man. And within man, the biggest predator man has is itself. We are killing ourselves more than anything else. So these reactions are for those old situations that, quite frankly, unless you're being held up or you're in a war, heaven forbid, they're really not necessary. But we tap into them, because we're in the habit of using them. But they're really not relevant. So you have these emotions or these reactions, whatever they are. You get an endocrine system reaction. The chemicals are produced. The body goes into a ready situation. All that takes what? Energy. Energy. And it takes matter. These hormone messengers that are emitted by the pancreas and adrenals and hypothalamus, they are chemical messengers. They take carbon atoms. They take stuff to make. Are you getting it? It is not just an energy-intensive reaction to be overly emotional. It's a matter-intensive reaction, because you don't make less chemical when you're doing it in your head. The body prepares for what it perceives or is being told is happening. If you are a woman, most likely between the ages of 48 and 60, okay, do you have the luxury through that transition of your life of being overly emotional about things? No. You're going through glandular fall off, you're going through estrogen deficiency, you're going through progesterone deficiency, your body is struggling to make the things it needs to make to keep you from flashing and crashing and everything else that women go through at that time of life. And men too, by the way. That's just an example of, in those moments of your life, that's why it's so important that when women come to see me and they're going through that change, the first thing I tell them is, calm down. This is just a change of life. We got to support the adrenal glands first. We've got to stop you from stressing out. And we've got to stabilize your blood sugar. And we've got to balance you. We've got to just put balance into your system, because your system is going through a natural change in hormone fluctuation. We have to institute balance. And the natural fluctuation in hormones, there's only so much we can do, okay? We can do a lot end frame, but we want to just bring stability to the system and find out if that takes care of the problem itself. That's why I always tell women, healthy into menopause, healthy out of menopause. Unhealthy into menopause, we're going to have a fun ride. So the best thing a woman can do is be healthy going in. Because if you're not, anything that's not healthy or balanced, when you bring change, how much does it show up? Change brings out instability in everything. If something's not balanced, change brings it. Change shows it up, makes you aware of it. But it was there most of the time anyway. So again, chemicals are matter. These reactions have a physical consequence. Not only do they have a consequence on your body, okay, causing vasodilation, vasoconstriction, increased heart rate, stress to the kidneys, diuresis, or water being let go of, water being retained. This is a real deal, guys. how you are living your life is how your body is going to be. You want to rely on some genetic code that you hope is going to save you from this, be my guest, but I don't recommend it. Because eventually you're going to stress those genes if you've got good ones, and you're going to find those genes starting to fall apart and break down, and you're going to find yourself going into a diseased state. And people say, well, stress brings about premature health problems. No, it doesn't. The health problems that occur because of the stress are not premature. They are directly related to that person's experience. Now, when you add foods on top of this, when you add foods high in caffeine or high in sugar or high in carbs, okay, or high in unhealthy fats, you add that load on top of this, blood sugar fluctuations. I mean, you've got a body that's made to live in homeostasis. And you're throwing high-test emotional reactions in there and high-test sugar and carbohydrates in there. How can you not expect the body to start freaking out and breaking down? It's not made for that. It's made to run from the lion once or twice a year. It's made to deal with a little bit of death. It's made to, eat mainly whole foods. I mean, it's not made for the life we're living with it, guys. I'm sorry to tell you that. Which means we need to change the way we're experiencing our life, or our bodies are going to continue in the wrong direction. And trust me, you're going to see a major adjustment, whether it's in our lifetime or ones to come. We are due for a major adjustment in human population. And anyone who doesn't see it is just take your blinders off. We are overpopulated, we are overstressed, we are unhealthy, we are primed for disease. Prime. It's coming. It's inevitable. We are an empire that is unsustainable. As a species, we are far too full of ourselves to be healthy. Far too full of ourselves. So, those of us who are starting to shift in this direction, okay, not only are we doing it for ourselves so that if it came tomorrow or the next day, and it's not a fear-based thing, it's just a reality. I mean, come on. It's just what it is. You can't avoid balance and you can't avoid nature. It does what it does. We'll be in the best place we can for that. And if it's generations after us, we will at least know that we did the best we could to leave them a toolkit to say, listen, I know this didn't happen in my generation, but in your generation or your kid's generation or whatever, this is the way you need to start living so that you'll be in the best place you can when this happens. Because it isn't going to be something you can be saved with by medicine. I guarantee you. Everyone's looking for the big disasters to change the world. Everyone's looking for the tsunamis and the climate change and blah, 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 blah. You know what? It's not going to come from that at all. It's going to be the microbes. It's going to be those little things. Because guess what's getting stronger and stronger as the climate's getting warmer and warmer? Funguses and molds. And you can't run from them, and there's no drugs. If your body can't adapt and deal with moisture properly and deal with its environment properly, you're done. It'll slowly just take you apart. Chronic allergies, lowered immunity, blah, blah, blah. Then you'll start getting infections. They won't be able to go away, blah, blah, blah. And then you die of pneumonia. I'm not being negative. I'm being honest with you. This is where I see it going. Chronic allergies, chronic inflammation, leading to autoimmune disorders, lowered immunity. It's decomposition time, guys. So, being able to adapt and having your adaptogenic systems in a proper balanced state is your best asset. If you want your body's adaptogenic systems to be ready and available to deal with climate change and weather change and all kinds of atmospheric change that's happening, you better not be using it up, creating false positives and negatives because of your emotional reactions. Because when you're going, oh my God, 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 what's that adaptogenic system doing? And that's an immediate need. That emotional reaction, again, is an immediate need. So is the body thinking about regulating its body moisture based on relative humidity and pressure changes? No, it's not even getting to that, because every time it starts to do something important, you're dragging it away. Do you hear that? You need peace for your body to focus on what it's supposed to focus on. And when you're constantly dragging it away with these emotional reactions, it never gets a chance to focus. How many people in the audience either work with children or have children? Okay. How many of you have been trying to get something done around children, and you can't? It takes you forever to get something done because they keep interrupting you with what they think is most important. Has everyone had that experience with somebody in their life, right? That's exactly what your emotions are doing. It takes you forever to get the same thing done because there's always something interrupting you all the time. That's what these constant emotional reactions do to your homeostatic systems that are trying to make sure you don't have cancer, trying to detoxify your gut, trying to heal your connective tissue, trying to fix the lenses in your eyes, trying to replenish your brain chemistry. You get it? That's why the middle of that graph is so important. You got to stay in the zone. You got to practice. You've got to practice staying in that place of sustainability. Okay? Now, we all know we're all one, and as a species, we'll talk about that right now. As a species, we all need learn how to live together, which means we all need something in common besides the fact that we're all one and we're all human beings in this conversation, okay? When you are living life with an emotional interpretation that's completely subjective, okay? Unless you're around someone who's angry at the same thing you're angry at, how much do you feel like you have in common with that person? You know, if they don't have the same emotional reaction you're having, they're not living in the same world you're in. Well, I don't know what you're thinking, but I'm just completely upset about this. Well, I know I'm kind of afraid about something else. Well, I know you're afraid, but I'm angry. So you're in two different places, all right? The only place we really share is that center piece. And that's why when you come into this room and a lot of you have started talking to each other and getting to know each other, there's this feeling of commonality, like we're all kind of here. Even when we're just here, we're all here. We're all sharing this in common. We all have this general space of peace in common. If we practice being in the same general space of reaction to life, which is minimal reaction, high levels of acceptance, love and peace, we find ourselves having much more in common with everyone else around us. We take the subjectivity out of it on the individual level, and we find more in common with it on a gross level. We're all here, we're all living, we're all dying, we're all experiencing it. That's a given. Let's make it similar how we're doing it. Then we share more in common. It's not a personal experience, it becomes a group experience. But everyone reacting to it emotional makes it very difficult for it to be a group experience. Because everyone's bound to have their own impression. Letting go of our own impressions, like we do in the practice, allows us to be in the same space together and go through it together. And there's strength in that group. This is the same thing as anything in nature. The ones that get picked off are the ones that are outside the group wandering away behind. But we don't want to be in that herd mentality, okay, of fear. We want to be in a consciousness mentality of life is good. Let's enjoy this. Look at the divinity of God I saw today. Tell me something you saw that was miraculous today. Tell me something you saw that was beautiful today. Let me share something with you that I saw that was awesome today. I'm in a space of duress. Give me peace. Help me know something that's going to make me feel calm again. I know it's all good. Setting the intention to just not overreact. Stay in balance. I do many forms of exercise. I walk, I run, I do Tai Chi, I do yoga, I lift weights, I do resistance training, I do all these things, all right? Why? It's balanced. I eat all kinds of foods. Mostly raw, but I eat all kinds of foods. Why? Because it's balanced. I drink water. I drink raw juice. I enjoy a little cup of coffee in the morning. Why? It's balanced. Why? I know I'm balanced. I know my balance points. You guys know your balance points intuitively. You know what you need to do to stay in balance. It's in us all. We all have that information within us. It's innate. It's in all the cells in our body. They know what we need to do. When you quiet that mind through either meditation, being in nature, going for walks, just sitting still, practicing the practice, all the above, you begin to be in touch with that innate knowing of what's in my highest good. And you let go of being in the highs and you let go of being in the lows and you get used to living in that space. And then health finds you. It won't always be right away, but it'll find you. You know, I truly got to a point in my physical health through physical activity that was pretty amazing, okay? But I was still in pain and I was still suffering. Practicing the practice, starting from that spiritual space of peace, is truly what brought me to the level of physical fitness that I'm in. Because I could never be truly physically fit if I wasn't emotionally fit, mentally fit, and spiritually fit. I would have never reached this point. So I encourage everybody, yes, engage in physical activity, but you have to start from that spiritual space, quiet the emotions, quiet the mind. It's inevitable. You know, my father told me something that his teacher told him when he was a kid. He said, go out in the woods and sit for a half an hour and don't do anything. If you can do that, you're good. If you can't, take a look at yourself. I never forgot that. If you can't sit still and just be for a half an hour and observe your mind doing whatever it's doing and not criticize it, not judge it, just be. If you can't just be with how you are in this moment for a half an hour, you need to practice. You need to learn how to be still, learn how to do nothing, because the most important thing you're going to do in your life is nothing. If you can't do nothing, you haven't learned anything. You have to be able to sit and do nothing and see it as a very important spending of your time. If you're not spending any time doing nothing, you will never achieve a place of balance. Because what balance is doing something? Doing nothing. You have to have both, like life and death. Okay? Practice this. Practice staying in balance. It's like standing on a wobble board on a can, okay? You're going to feel like you fall back and forth sometimes. But I'm telling you, if you just keep practicing it, after a while, you go through days, moments, years, where you're in that balance point. And that becomes normal. Not the new normal that you've established, but the real normal. That's the way you're going to live eternally. Remember, we're here to learn how to live eternally because that's what we're living. Practice living your eternal life now. Have a great night, everybody. Thanks for coming. It's my pleasure to teach and be a student of you as well.